welcome to this session of mindfulness, awareness, and compassion practice. We'll be going through a series of practices and get a sample of each one, which then you can lengthen on your own when you're doing these practices. So this is an introduction. I'll say a few things about mindfulness and awareness first, and then we'll get into the practices. One thing to mention, since we're doing this virtually on Zoom, it's not so great to be staring into the screen for a long time while you're practicing. So it's helpful when we start the practice. The first part we're going to do is with our eyes closed to get ourselves settled and centered. Then we're going to open our eyes, and and when we do that, when we open our eyes, then it's important to either turn your seat sideways or turn your device sideways, like this, so that you're looking out and have a sense of space in front of you, and certainly not looking directly into the screen. So that's what we'll do. When we talk about mindfulness and awareness, we're talking about a quality of presence. We spend a lot of our time in the past and the future, and that's one thing that we can do as part of our awareness practice. See, mindfulness is paying attention to what you're doing while you're doing it. Awareness is knowing whether you are or not. So it's kind of like a background monitoring factor. It's the same thing as when you wake up in the morning and you were dreaming. At that moment, you know that you're awake and you recall that that was a dream. That's the awareness function. So in the same way, when we're doing our mindfulness practice, if our mind wanders, when we wake up from that daydream, the awareness practice knows that we're back already and that we were wandering. And we can take that and apply it in our everyday lives. And this is what I wanted to suggest, and that is, as we go about our lives, noticing and asking a question, every now and again stopping and asking the question, where am I? Now, it might seem silly to say, where am I, when we know that we're either in our kitchen or on the golf course or wherever we actually are physically. But the question is, where am I and where was I just then in my mind? Because unless you have a time machine in your backyard, your body is location in time is always now, in space it's always here. So we're always in the here and now as far as our bodies are concerned, but our mind is a time machine. And we spend so much time replaying the past, or what I call pre-playing the future, as opposed to being fully with what we're experiencing in the present moment. Now, in Japan and in some Zen monasteries elsewhere in the world, they have a practice where there's a great temple bell, and you can hear it from everywhere in the monastery. This is my gong, but it sounds a little bit like, and you hear this ringing sound. Now, that bell is what calls people to meditation, calls them to meals, calls whatever, and sometimes there's two rings. But one of the things that they do is that the person in charge of the bell for the day is to ring a single ring at random times during the day. And the signal is, when you hear the bell, you stop whatever you're doing, and ask that question. Where was I just now? And return to awareness of body and environment in the present. When you wake up from a daydream, your mind is already back, but there's an echo or a reverberation of what you were just thinking about. And so rather than go back into it, we set the intention that when we wake up from our daydream, we're going to return to what we were choosing to pay attention to. And in our everyday lives, we're going to choose to pay attention to what we're actually doing right at that moment with our body and our mind. When we're meditating, whatever the technique is that we're doing, that's what we return to. And I'll explain that as we go through the different series of practices. So it's something that you can do, and you can use signals in your everyday life to stop and take a breath. Stop and take a breath. Now, when I was a kid, I've got gray hair, and some of you may remember we were taught as kids what to do if our clothes caught on fire. And that was to stop, drop, and roll. Stop what you're doing. Don't run around. Just stop wherever you are, drop to the ground, and then roll on the ground to put the flames out. So we can apply that when our mind is on fire and all over the place, that when we realize it, we stop whatever we're doing, drop our awareness into our body, and breathe. Stop, drop, and breathe. You can even use your phone as your signal. If you get a signal for a text or a call, before you answer, before you pick it up, stop, drop your awareness into your body, take 1, maybe 2 breaths, and then take the call. And that pause allows you the space to respond to what is going on rather than react to what is going on. And that's freedom and a way of working with things and not getting caught up in them. As my teacher liked to say, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. That's what we're talking about. So let's get started with the practice. Now, one of the things that we want to do with the practice is be aware of our connection with everybody else. We live in an interconnected world. What the great Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh called interbeing rather than interdependence, but it's the same thing. And so we're not in this alone, and our practice becomes more efficacious, more useful, more powerful if we include others. And we're not just doing this for ourselves. So it's traditional to start any session with establishing an intention at the beginning that I'm not just doing this for myself, I'm doing this for the benefit of others. And certainly during this time when we are just working with our bodies, our minds, our mindfulness, our awareness, and touching into our heart of compassion, for this time, we're not out in the world causing trouble for ourselves or others. So we immediately have a benefit, and we're immediately doing this for the benefit of others. So we set that intention that we're doing this so that we can be better at responding rather than reacting, and therefore causing less confusion for ourselves and for others. So this is a practice that includes the benefit of others. And then at the end, we'll recall that and rededicate that. So to begin, let's start with the grounding practice. Now for this, Let your eyes gently close and tune into your body. Drop your awareness into your body. And to start with, sometimes, we walk around and it's like we're a head walking around and our body's just coming along for the ride. And if something happens, we're kind of telling it what to do, like it's our assistant robot. But we want to fully inhabit our body, be one system, body and mind. So let's fully inhabit and engage our body, starting from the ground up. Wiggle your toes, move your feet and your ankles, feel your toes, your arches, instep, ankles. I'm not worried about your posture right now. Just fully engage your body. Calves, shins, knees. Feel your thighs, the big muscles in your thighs, your hamstrings, pelvis. And your hips, and that's where those joints are what connects our torso to our legs. Just move it a little bit. Feel how that works. Your lower torso, deep belly and lower back, chest and upper back, your rib cage. Your rib cage goes all the way around, and we're not two-dimensional beings, we're three-dimensional. Feel the depth of your torso, not just the width and the height, front to back. Feel the three-dimensionality of your body. Shoulders, again, the shoulder joints, that's what connects our arms to our torso. Your arms and hands all the way out to the fingers. Wiggle your fingers a little bit. Really make your body alive and inhabit it fully. Neck, and your head resting on that. Now from that, let's work with our posture. So whatever seat you're sitting in, you want to have a stable position. And if your knees are higher than your hips, it puts a little strain on your lower back, and your legs have to stay activated. So if your knees are already lower than your hips on your seat, just put your feet flat on the floor about hip width apart. If your knees are higher, just cross your legs in front of you gently until your knees are a little bit lower than your hips. And then check how you're sitting on the seat, your sit bones. We have a right and left sit bone. Be aware, is your weight more on one side than the other? You can shift it a little bit until you feel like your weight is evenly distributed between your left sit bone and your right sit bone. And for our torso, we want to feel like our spine and the back from our tailbone all the way up to the top of the back of our head feels like a straight line. It isn't, but it feels like that it extends straight up. And we want to be upright, so there's a little extension upward without being rigid. Whatever the instructions, they're intended to be subtle. There's a great teacher who said, when I tell you what to do, when you take an aspirin, I tell you to take an aspirin, I mean one or two, not the whole bottle. So just subtle adjustments. And from that upright posture, let your arms hang straight down from your shoulders. Now, as far as your shoulders go, first, we tend to be curled forward a lot. Everything's forward, and especially if we're working on computers a lot at our desk, our shoulders tend to curl forward. So Just to counter that, again, just a tiny bit, a half an inch, just pull your shoulders back a little bit. Let your shoulder blades behind you come closer together, just a little bit. It kind of opens up your chest, makes the breathing easier as well. And from there, let your arms hang straight down. Leave the elbows where they are and just swivel your hands up onto your thighs, palms down on each respective thigh. And when the back of your head extends upward from your spine, your chin comes in naturally. So you're not pulling it in and tilting your head down, and you're not letting your chin float up. Just like you're at attention, paying attention. We're going to mainly breathe through our nose and certainly inhale through our nose. But as we exhale, it's okay if air comes out through our mouth. So it's up to you. You can leave your lips just barely parted or very, very lightly touching. Let your tongue be natural in your mouth. And if it feels natural that it floats up and rests on your upper palate just behind your teeth, that's fine too. Right now we have our eyes closed, so we're just aware of our posture. And we also hold unnecessary tension sometimes. So we need a certain amount of tension to hold our posture, but let's scan and clear away the unnecessary tension, not forcefully, just it's as if just becoming aware of it, we let it melt. So don't try to make it happen, just let it happen. Aware of your scalp, eyes, cheekbones, and jaw. We often hold a lot of tension in our jaw. Just let it soften, let it melt without your mouth hanging open. See the little bit of tension to keep your lips the way you want them, but within that, soften the jaw. Neck and shoulders, same thing. Often hold a lot of tension. Just let them fall. You're probably not even aware of it. Just let your shoulders fall without pushing them down. You may be surprised to discover there was tension there. Just let it melt. Upper arms, chest, upper back, rib cage all around, stomach and deep belly and lower back. Very often, again, deep belly and pelvis or pelvic area, we're clenching and don't really know it. Without losing your posture, let your deep belly just soften. Let the tension melt out of it. Any tension in your pelvis, pelvic area, just let it soften. Hips, thighs and hamstrings, forearms and hands. Let it melt, let everything soften. Knees, calves, ankles, and feet. Return to the deep core of your torso, a few inches below your navel, just in front of your spine. Just let your awareness rest there. We think of our minds as being in our heads. Just feel like your mind is deep in the core of your torso. quiet down there. Just a little gentle movement as the breath goes in and out. Feel that movement of the breath deep in the core of your torso as an observer, not a controller. Sometimes it's a bigger breath, sometimes smaller, shorter, longer. However it happens, just let it be. Let it be that way. That's going to be the object of our attention and our mindfulness, but we want to have that happen aware of the space that we're sitting in. So again, turn your device if you need to. Open your eyes about halfway. Look down under your eyelids, out in front of you. Rather than looking at something, whatever direction your eyes are resting in, just be aware of the space that you're sitting in. A few feet in front of you and to the sides. You can see your body out of the lower part of your field of vision. Let your mind rest on that feeling of filling and emptying in your torso, deep in your core, as the breath comes in and goes out. Filling, going in, emptying out, and awareness of your posture sitting in the space. And we'll do that for a couple of minutes. If your mind wandered into a daydream and you lost track of your body and your breathing, the mind does tend to wander. Without judging, just smile and go, oh, wandering. Reconnect with your posture. Drop your mind into your core. Return to awareness of filling and emptying. Expanding and contracting. As the gong fades, open your eyes fully. Nothing extra, just ordinary, open eyes. And raise your gaze to look out. Not quite to the horizon, just a little below. Again, wherever your eyes rest, rather than looking at that, just open up your peripheral vision, side to side, top to bottom, open to the space that you're sitting in. And as the breath goes out and mixes with the air in the room and diffuses into the space, into the atmosphere. As the breath goes out, let your mind, your awareness go out and open up to the space. Instead of focusing internally on your body, let your attention rest on going out and mixing your mind with the space. Open up to your full peripheral vision, hearing, awareness. Thoughts may come and go, but they're just drifting by in the space like clouds in the sky. Trust that your body will breathe in by itself. You don't need to intentionally breathe in, but intentionally let your awareness go out as the breath goes out. Out, open to the space, and just rest as your body breathes in by itself. Out, open, rest in awareness. Again, if your mind wanders off into a series of daydreams, as soon as you realize it, just smile, go wandering. Back to the posture, out breath, open, and rest. We'll do that for a few minutes. As the gong fades, raise your awareness and look out just above the horizon. Imagine that you can see out beyond whatever space you're in. Let your awareness open up as far as the sky. The sky is all around, 360 degrees, above, and if we could see, below as well. Open your mind in all directions as far as the sky. Imagine that your awareness extends out even further, out as big as the whole universe. Infinite openness in all directions. And rest in that feeling of infinite openness for a moment. And within that openness, all the other beings in the world, all the other living beings are also in that same space. They're all included in our awareness. And we can be aware of their happiness and suffering like our own happiness and suffering. It's something we all share in common. We're all interdependent in wishing for happiness and wanting to be free from suffering. And tuning into our own desire to be free from suffering, our wish for happiness, we can feel our own tender heart of kindness and compassion. That's how we connect with others, that same feeling. From your tender heart of compassion, rouse that wish that you and all beings could enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. That you and all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. There's power in our tender heart of compassion, the power to radiate kindness. And imagine that from your tender heart of compassion, the cool moonlight of kindness radiates out. And it radiates out first to fill your whole being with cool, calming kindness. And as you breathe in, gather from all parts of your own being any feelings of negativity and unhappiness, suffering, pain. Gather them into your tender heart of compassion and radiate out kindness to yourself, forgiveness, relaxation, contentment, peace, health, and happiness. And feeling that extended to others. we can gather in our own suffering and radiate out peace, health, and happiness to ourselves. Imagine that you can radiate that out to others. And as you breathe in, can take away from them, relieve them of their fear, pain, suffering, and struggle. One person close to you may come to mind, a loved one, that you know what they're going through. Extend your tender heart of compassion to them, breathing in and taking away that suffering and misery, radiating out to them peace, health, and happiness. Fill their beings from your tender heart of compassion. Send out cool rays of moonlight like kindness. Take away the heat and darkness of their suffering. Other people, other beings may come to mind. Expand that feeling of radiating out kindness, taking away suffering. And as best you can, expand it to all beings. Tune back in to your own tender heart. Imagine that you could take away the suffering and the causes of suffering, the fear, hatred, anger, greed, all the causes of suffering in the world, and that you could actually liberate everyone from those. You could breathe that in and liberate them all from that. And the joy that gives you, feel that joy and radiate that out. Share that with all beings. Breathe in and free all beings from suffering and the causes of suffering. Radiate out happiness and the causes of happiness to all beings. And share with them the joy that comes from being able to do that, even in your imagination. And as the going fades, lower your gaze again. Go back to the resting your mind in your core. Feeling it filling and emptying as the breath comes in and out. now we conclude the practice by reestablishing our intention, recalling our intention, that we started this with the intention of benefiting others. So let's dedicate what we did for the benefit of others. And you can repeat after me or put it in your own words. May the practice I've just done be of benefit to others as well as myself. And to cultivate an even deeper sense of generosity and caring, you can say something like, may the practice I've just done be of even more benefit to others than to myself. And that concludes our session of mindfulness, awareness, and compassion practice. So thank you. And now please feel free to unmute yourself. I think you should be able to do that. If not, just wave or put your hand up in the reaction, and I'll unmute you. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free. Hi, Birgit.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for the practice. It's very helpful as always. I just wanted to share an observation that I made. You know, you mentioned at the beginning, do what you're doing while you're doing it. I think I realized why it's such a challenge for me to do taxes. I, I was doing my taxes, and I mean, basically, it's you put numbers, you put things in categories, and then you put in the numbers, and then you add it up. And I just noticed how with almost every item that I put in there, my mind would take off into, whatever was connected, whatever incident was connected with that item, or I don't know where to put it, and I'm getting upset at myself because I still don't have the optimal tax organizer, or I can't find something. So I think it's really all these little detours that
Yes.
the mind makes that make it such a challenge, which doesn't mean that I can exactly get out of it, but just realizing it was helpful. And it was interesting when you did the session on Monday. I wanted to get finished with the stuff on Monday, and I was really all over the place and considered, not joining for the meditation session because I thought, it's just no use. And I mean, I wasn't very focused, but it was just great to take that break. And I actually sat down afterwards for, I don't know, half an hour or something and got it finished. So
Congratulations. That's good. That's good. Well, that's the thing, that the whole point is to have a sense of humor about it. And people go, oh, that was a really good meditation because I was there for most of it. Well, that was a really bad meditation because my mind was all over the place. That's actually not accurate, because the whole thing is a process. And in fact, if your mind is very busy, but you keep catching it and recognizing it with a sense of humor, then it's a continual part of the training. If you were training in a sport, I don't know, like golf perhaps, and you got discouraged every time that it wasn't going so well and stopped and said, well, I'm not doing that well, I think I'm just going to quit, you really wouldn't make any progress. The point is to say, what's going on that I'm not doing so well? What's going on that's getting in the way? And then you go, oh, okay. And just catching it is liberating, because it's so easy. It's so, I tell people when they practice, it's like you the mind is so creative. You could be meditating and go, I'm with my breath. Oh, this is very peaceful. It reminds me of that yoga class I did one time. I really liked that teacher. I wonder what she's doing now. I think she moved to New York. I really liked New York. When I was there last time, I went to see this play, and people were singing and dancing. And suddenly, in 5 thoughts, in 1 second, you're in New York watching people singing and dancing on a stage. And then you go, wait a minute, I'm not in New York. And at that moment, instead of beating yourself up, like, what was I thinking? You just go, oh, what was I thinking? What? That was wandering. That was thinking. I was someplace else, but I'm already back. And you smile.
Right.
Because if you beat yourself up, you're just invited to come back again. So, yes, I'm glad that you had that recognition. It's realizing how the mind goes, that this and becoming familiar with the patterns that lets us have the choice to respond rather than react. It's really good. Did somebody else have a question or comment?
No, not really.
I see Charlie and Martha. Hi.
Hello? Gary, can you hear me?
Yeah, Gary, hi. How you
How
doing?
are you?
Nice to see you.
Calling from Philadelphia. I just had a comment that thank you so much for this. I haven't done this for a while, but I tend to have dreams that have a theme of being lost, or getting lost in different. It's interesting. A lot of them have to do with golf things as well, but or I lost my clubs or this or that. And I'm wondering if, when I go through this mindfulness of your sessions, it seems to clear. I don't feel lost in my life. I mean, at least I'm not aware of it. But I'm wondering if the practice of this mindfulness, would help me to just kind of, I don't know, just an awareness of being in the present moment or not. I don't know if the two relate at all with this theme of getting lost. Maybe it's a common thing people do have, but I'm just wondering if this practice would relate to that at all. I don't know.
It's not uncommon, that theme, and the practice does relate. And the idea is that we do this practice, and as I said at the beginning, the idea is to generalize it throughout our lives, and ultimately, people practice to become aware of their dreams while they're dreaming. It's called lucid dreaming. So it extends through everything. And in my experience, some of the struggles in dreams, after I practiced for a long time, started to resolve themselves in certain ways. And I found it kind of interesting.
Mhm.
So, but it is a practice. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to do it 2 or 3 times, and then, that would be like starting golf and taking 2 or 3 lessons and saying, oh, now I can be a professional golfer. It is a process. It's a training, and the idea is to engage in and appreciate the journey rather than being impatient. Because if you're impatient to get where you want to go, it takes a whole lot longer. I have a story about that in my book, Zen Golf. This guy in Japan gets into an argument with somebody and he wants to kill him. But he knows the guy's a pretty good swordsman. So he goes to a master samurai and says, teach me, I got to get this guy. Make me a master of the sword so I can beat him. How long is it going to take? He says, well, maybe 10 years. Goes, wait, no, you don't understand. I need to do this right away. What if I work all day as hard as I can? He said, well, maybe 20 years. No, you're going the wrong direction. I got to get this guy. So what if I work day and night? He said, well, maybe 30 years then, because Anybody as impatient as you are for results is never going to master anything. So we need to have that patience and appreciation, and it really does boil down to sense of humor to say, where am I? I know where I'm going. Where am I now? Have a sense of humor about that and say, let's keep going in the direction of my intention. And as we do that, we get better. One of the intentions is to set the intention to remember to ask. I'm going to remember to ask myself, what's happening with my mind and my body right now?
Mhm.
And we forget. The phone goes and we go, oh, I got to get that. I wonder who that is. And we forget to say, oh, wait, I had the intention that when the ring happened, that would remind me. Now I'll look. So it's a practice, developing the practice. But it will seep into everything in your life. That's the idea. It's not, I need a timeout to feel mellow, and then I'm going to go back into chaos.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Pierre, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Joe. I had a thought about the compassion part, and it's something that I don't think about, but as I was drifting off and considering it and thinking about it, I realized this is something I'm already pre-programmed to do. It's already something that's hardwired in from my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And my day job and my night job is pediatrics. So compassion plays a big role. So thank you.
You're welcome. You know, the message is we all are hardwired for that. We all have that tender heart. Just sometimes life experiences encrust it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And for some people, it gets encrusted in stone.
Make it freeze over.
You know, but that's again the to me the most important story in that I wrote for Zen Golf is the young person who had in some versions I have it be a boy and some a girl, but this young girl has a clay statue that was a family heirloom. And she always loved the statue, but she always wished that it was made of gold. And so one day, after doing earning some money, doing things when she became old enough, she took it down to a jewelry store and had it gold plated. The only problem was gold leaf doesn't stick to clay very well. So it kept flaking off, and she found herself putting all her energy and time into keeping the facade of her statue looking like gold. And one day her grandparents came back from a trip of many years, and her grandmother, she wanted to show her the statue because she was so proud of it, but she was a little embarrassed because there were places flaking off, and she assured the woman that she was going to get it patched up as soon as possible. And the woman took the statue lovingly and said, oh, you don't remember it because you were so young, but, and she moistened her handkerchief and rubbed a place where the clay was, and a bright yellow color shone through. She says, you don't remember when you were young, this statue fell in the mud and got covered in clay. You never had to cover your statue in gold. All you had to do was gently remove the clay and reveal the solid gold statue that you possessed all along. That's who we are. We're the gold, but it gets covered by clay. We don't have to find a way to be compassionate. We are compassionate. We just have to let go of the things that keep us from feeling that way. So thank you, Pierre. I'm glad you brought that up. I loved being able to tell that story. I get a little teary whenever I tell it. Because that's the real thing. Well, it's the hour wherever you are. So thank you so much. You know, in in sports, sometimes there's overtime, and so I like to be able to offer that. So I'll stay on for a few more minutes if anybody wants to stay. If you need to go on the hour, thank you so much. We'll be doing this 2 weeks from today, so please come back. And thanks for joining in today. Appreciate it. Just that bird.
Yes.
Anybody else have a question or comment for overtime?
Joe, I do.
Hi, Vicky.
I'd like to ask you just a little more about the lucid dreaming. I'm writing a piece in regards. My brother had a reoccurring dream of being on the dance floor with our parents, all walked off through the doorway. He passed 2.5 weeks after our mom had lay down on the floor and had a heart attack. So I wanted to ask you a little more about lucid dreaming and in relationship to what was occurring for him.
All I know, I don't know, I can't really say what's in relation to what was occurring for him, but lucid dreaming simply means that while you're dreaming, you become aware that you are dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually comes to you when something is unusual, and you go, "Wait a minute, that's not how these things work." You know, I can't walk on the ceiling, so I think I must be dreaming. What tends to happen when you first do that is the surprise of that wakes you up. So again, it is a practice, and there are two purposes to it. One is to learn about yourself and just observe what's happening in the dream and see where your mind takes you with awareness that it's taking you there. And the other is to actually train in the dream and have agency. And you know, like Gary getting lost, you say, "Wait a minute, I'm not lost. I know exactly where I am." And I'm going, and because it's a dream, you say, "I'm going to go to," and you pick a spot to go to, and you're there. So that's kind of the kind of agency. And then in the Buddhist tradition, you actually then work with different aspects of your emotions and your energy, and you move towards becoming fully awake even while you're sleeping. So there's a lot to it, but you can look into it. I met there's a guy named Andrew Holacek, who I teach on the meditation class for his group on every other Monday night. I just did it somebody was referencing last Monday. That's what that was about. And he's written a lot of great stuff on lucid dreaming. Holecek. Andrew Holacek. And he learned a lot from a guy named Stephen LaBerge, who was really the originator of the studies on lucid dreaming, who I had the privilege of meeting. He's a wild and crazy guy. He looks like if Bart Simpson had done a lot of acid trips in college. He's that's the image I got from him, and he's really brilliant, and really puts things together in amazing ways. So that's LeBerge, Leber. I think it's Laberge, Stephen LeBerge. Those are the two references.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Oh, Gary, I got to tell you about the golf. You know, golf dreams.
Yeah.
Even my meditation teacher would have golf dreams, and one of the very common ones is you can't hit the ball. You've set it up, and you've teed it up, and you realize you're in a room and you can't take the club back. That's a common one.
Mine is that I lose my clubs. I
Yeah.
go somewhere.
Oh, very common.
I go with my friends, and all of a sudden, I don't
Hey,
have
where are
my
my clubs? Where are
I
my
left
clubs?
them in the car or something. Then I go on this journey to
Yeah.
find them, and then I end
Oh,
up.
yeah. There you go. Very common. They show up and everybody's ready to go, and you realize you left your pants in the locker room.
Right.
That's these are all dreams I've heard from different people, and some that I've had. And one person said, "I finally was able to hit the ball. I finally was able to hit it. I smacked a drive. It went right down the fairway, and it hit the pole that marks the 150-yard spot and bounced all the way back to the tee."
I have some of the same, the locations or the holes or the same course, or it's a course I've never been to, but there's one where there's a hole, and it's
Right.
I can picture it right now, par 3. But then there's also like a big net, like we have to hit over this, and I don't know where it is, but it comes back.
Suddenly you find yourself in a room and you have to hit out the window.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. These are all very, very common, and they all speak of frustration that we can't get where we want to go, and that's where the lost one comes in. And
Right.
it's almost like, to me, it's like some kind of subconscious, unconscious, whatever you want to call that, yearning shows up through our dreams that can't really show up in everyday life, because in some way it would be debilitating, or some way it would be confusing. And so it waits until to show up into our dreams, where we can't actually physically do something in that regard.
Uh-huh.
So it's an interesting field of exploration.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Fiona, did you have anything? Just want to hang in? Oh, you went, there you
Sorry.
go.
Yes, thank you. I've never done one of these before, so it was very insightful for me.
Where are you?
I'm in Ireland.
I had a funny feeling. I was going to guess. Didn't sound like a Texas accent.
No.
and I love Fiona Ryan. That could be somewhat Irish. And I've been over there a lot. I taught a camp every summer in Ireland for about 7 years in the Southwest, near Waterville.
Well, I'm very close to there at the moment.
Kerry, County Kerry?
Yeah.
Where?
In a place called Carrowlake, which is about 5 miles away from a golf club called Duke's.
Oh, I love Duke's. I love Duke's.
Yeah.
I've got to. If you can stay for a moment, I've got a story about Duke's. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a story.
Joe, can I interrupt you? Can you give me an address where, if I want to send you something, an address I can send to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Hang on one second.
I'm going to write it down.
I'll put it in the chat in a second. Okay. So, no, that's not the one. Here it is. There you go. Okay.
So I click chat and it'll be there?
Yeah, I'm going to put it right now. This is a physical mailing address?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. And if you want to save the chat, there are 3 dots. Look in the chat. You see the little 3 dots along the bottom or next to it?
Oh, yes.
Click on that. You'll see it says save chat.
Oh, I don't see your address though. Where is that?
Oh, I didn't hit send. I do that a lot. There you go. I posted it now. You see it now?
Bottom? Oh, there it is. Okay. Hackamore Street, Ocha. Okay, great. Thank you.
So Fiona, you see behind me?
Yes.
Okay. So I took this picture. I went Duke's for if you haven't been there, it's this little course it's in the pro shop is a little house in town. And you go to the first couple of holes and they're in town. It's like in among the houses in town, the first hole. And you go, what is this place? And you walk up the hill to the second tee, and that's what it looks like from the second tee.
Yeah.
Right? Have you been
It's a
there?
surprise.
Yes. Okay. So I took this picture into the pro shop after playing, and I said, "What do you think of this picture?" And he said, "That's a very nice picture from our second tee." I said, "Yeah, it would be, except that it's in Oregon." And he went, "No way." And I said, "Way." It's Bandon Dunes in Oregon, and I went to Duke's. I looked at the tee. I said, "This is what the course in Oregon was built to look like."
Oh, okay.
Exactly, intentionally, just like that. Doesn't it look like that? Have you been there?
Yeah, well, yes, because it's panoramic.
Yep,
The
exactly.
second is panoramic. Yeah,
Exactly.
360 degrees. Yeah.
Exactly. So I love it. So I that's so nice to connect with you that way.
Yeah.
I'm
good.
glad you were able
The is
to.
very different.
I'm glad you were able to come to the session. How did you hear about it?
I was looking on a big entity called Amazon, and I don't know, came across your name, and I am in the process of reading your book at the moment, Zen Putting, and I don't know, I just kept going, and I saw these meditations. I just haven't been able to come in for the last couple of Thursdays, and today I could. So it was really by chance. So I'm very, very glad that chance has come to pass.
Well, so happy to have you. And Pierre and Gary were with me at Bandon Dunes. So
Yes.
and
Great
Vicky and I
Great.
have been practicing meditation together for a long time. So it's wonderful to have everybody. It's great. So thank you so much, all. Oh yeah, and Vicky and I work on. There's my book for families.
Yeah, walking
A Walk in the Wood. It's my sister and I wrote it. Hold it up one more time, Vicky. It's my sister and I wrote it. She has done a lot of books for Disney, and they asked me to work on it with her to teach mindfulness, kindness, and other important values for families using Winnie the Pooh and Friends. So
I want to get your diet book. I was reading about that yesterday.
And I did the diet book. Yeah.
Since I'm on the borderline, so it's another approach to.
Well, I can assure you that it works because I tested it out myself.
Thank you. Great.
Well, lovely to see everybody. Vicky, thank you for reminding me to tell people about that book. Tim, it's great. You're in Maryland. I'm glad you got to spend the lunch hour here. Oh, you better get back to work. It's 1:15. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.